Hi, I'm Susan Lewis from WRTI, and this is Time In. I'm here with Monica Ellis and Toyin Spellman-Diaz, both members of Imani Winds. Today, between playing, music, recording, teaching, and juggling family considerations, you guys are very busy, I imagine. Where are you zooming in from?
Yes, we are strangely busy to not be doing what we would usually be doing at all. So that's weird in and of itself. But thanks for having us, Susan. And I am zooming in from my home in Harlem, New York City.
And I'm zooming in from my bedroom in Maywood, New Jersey.
Well, welcome to Time In. How did you guys meet, the two of you?
Oh, we met in undergraduate when I was a sophomore and Monica was a freshman at Oberlin Conservatory of Music. We started, I don't remember do you remember when we really, really met, Monica?
No, I don't really.
I'm going to make
At the
something up
moment, I
and
don't.
yeah, I'm going to make it up and say we met at African Heritage House at the dining hall, and we probably sat down and ate a meal together. And she said, "Oh, I'm a conservatory person," and I said, "Oh, there's so few Black people in the conservatory. I'm so excited." I made up a whole story, and then we danced the hula hula and went to go practice.
So there's some holes in that one, but let's go with it. Yeah.
Okay. Well, Toyin, you play the oboe, and Monica, you play the bassoon. Could you tell us one by one how you got into music? I know, Toyin, you grew up in Washington, D.C.
Yes.
And how did you get from there to here?
That's a good question. I was lucky enough to grow up in a
Take
household where
I-95 North.
go down the
Sorry.
Beltway, listen to WRTI on the way up. See, that's how I got there.
There you
So,
go.
I grew up in a household where music was super important. So my parents were playing Beethoven and Miles Davis's Bitches Brew at the same time, like not at the same time, but in the same day for sure. And I was lucky enough that my father worked for the National Endowment for the Arts, so he got complimentary tickets to everything. So I got to see art openings from a very small age, concerts, operas, ballets, all that stuff from a very, very early age. So music is very, very important in my family.
Right. And Monica.
Well, I grew up in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and family and teachers in a very small nutshell is how I got from there to here. Incredible support with my teachers, growing up all the way from early third grade band, uh, all the way through high school. Having the support of my parents and my family was incredible, and also my community, my church community, my school community. All of these facets really molded me and my sister to be these people that we aspire to be. And also, I would say a fair amount of freedom within our upbringing to say you can do whatever you want. And so, we kind of came from this place of um, excellence, frankly. Just you can do whatever you want, just be really, really good at it. And that was never like tiger momish at all. It was just this expectation, that we just always knew it was there. And so I think that fueled me to work hard from the very beginning and to go after things that I was really enjoying. And I had a great middle school band teacher who introduced me to the bassoon after playing other instruments in elementary school and middle school. And he said, you might need a little bit of a challenge or try something else. And so he just literally handed me the box and I took it home, and my parents thought, okay, sure, whatever. And then eventually I got a really great teacher that kind of carried me through high school, and then off to conservatory. So it was a very exciting time, I have to say. I remember my childhood very fondly. Go Steelers.
So you two met at Oberlin. And then when did Imani Winds join you together?
Imani Winds started when Monica and I were both in this, it's not a gap year, but we had finished our master's degrees already, and we were both thinking student loans were looming above, student debt was piling up, and we said, let's just take one more year to learn with our teachers. So Monica shifted over from Juilliard to Manhattan School. I was at Manhattan School and stayed there for an extra professional studies degree. The rest of the people were in school or recently out of school in different New York top universities or conservatories. So that started in '97. It's been a couple of years now at this point, a couple of decades. So yeah.
Well, it's great. And Imani Winds is really changing the way people think about classical music. Your approach to informing the music with people of all different backgrounds and composers from different backgrounds and um, doing music from all over the world has really changed the way and broadened, expanded the way people think of classical music in a beautiful, wonderful way.
Well, early on, we did realize that we had a desire to do music that just was not your straight ahead classical, as well as a sensibility to those musics, I think. Very, very quick early on, Jeff and Valerie, again, Jeff is our horn player and composer. Valerie is our former flutist and an incredible composer. They were bringing music that they grew up with. They were bringing original compositions that were a part of their upbringing. So, Valerie grew up in Louisville, Kentucky, and Jeff, right here in New York City, and listening to soul music and R&B, and us grew up in the 1980s pop music, so we love Earth, Wind and Fire, we love Stevie Wonder, we love Prince. We're like, this is the music that's informing us, just as that we're listening to on the road, in the van, iPods on, in the gym, whatever it might be. So that is naturally going to inform their original compositions. And yes, jazz, world music, and I don't even like to really use that phrase, but music from around the world, I should say. All of this stuff was seeping its way into their original stuff that really created the sound of Imani Winds. And so, when we talk about repertoire for the wind quintet, you're going to be done with the so-called standard pieces in about 3 concerts. And so we had to have repertoire that would fuel the ensemble and allow for sustainability to happen. And that often came from their pen and other people with that like-minded approach. And so jazz artists and were seeing that we had, again, this sensibility to that type of music, and wanted to collaborate with us. And we wanted to collaborate with them. So it was a real give and take. And that, again, like I said, kind of made the core Imani sound. And all of us, just, talk about excellence too, came to the plate with wanting to be as good as we could, and continue to be that way. We pushed each other. We talk about the most minute details. And so we do kind of think it is this interesting blend of styles and genres through, we kind of think it's badass playing.
Definitely. So what were you each doing in the beginning of March of 2020?
Well, we had just come back from a tour of kind of Northern California, and we were getting ready to pack and get back on the road. There was a very, very busy touring schedule in March and April looming ahead of us that we were excited to get to. And it just, the first gig started getting canceled, and school for our children closed. And so we were just kind of sitting at home wondering what it was going to be, and figured we'd be back at it by the summer at the latest. And we were making plans to have, barbecues, Imani Wind barbecues, and all sorts of stuff. Right in March, we were saying, okay, let's just keep the reeds hot and get ready to start back out in a couple of months. So that's kind of where we were. Just thought it was going to be a short-term situation.
But no. It wasn't.
Alas, it was not. Yeah, and the reality set in, and we were listening to the science and realizing that we don't really have a choice, and uh, the science was telling presenters, frankly, saying to shut it down, and so we were all just starting to see the domino effect of everything. And for me, like around June or so, well, maybe May, so before the other, craziness of the summer started, it was kind of a paralyzing time, honestly. I just kind of didn't know what to do, because it was the first time in as long as I can remember of being a professional musician where I had no control over what was happening. We're so used to just going in, and of course the stage, that's where the things that are not, that you are have no control over, happen, but in the best of ways, like the spontaneity, the music, the energy from the audience. That's what we look forward to. But to have no control over what's happening in such a negative way was really jarring for me, and obviously for so many others, and it was deadly, sadly, for so many others. But yeah, it took a while for me to just kind of dig myself out of the paralyzing feeling of what to do. Okay, I'm trying to practice. Okay, I'm going to pull this etude book out and learn these etudes all over again. That lasted for like a day. There's no energy, but you had lots of energy. So very conflicting and confusing time it was in the beginning, until you started to settle into this being the reality.
Right. Well, it must have been hard. You were on the road, and you must travel a lot pre-pandemic. You must have been traveling a lot and touring.
Yes.
To go from that kind of a lifestyle to being home full time is hard. But you each have families, right?
Mhm. It is true. And Imani Winds is my family too. Like, we're so used to being together in small spaces, whether it be on a stage together or like in a van driving 2 hours from the airport to the gig. So that family all of a sudden is socially distanced as well. I didn't even know what socially distance was at the beginning. I remember my sister was explaining to me, and I was like, what is this social distance that you speak of?
I
But
think we all have all sorts of new vocabulary nowadays.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
So
yeah.
did either of you or find things you started doing that you hadn't done before that you'll continue after the pandemic? Things you've discovered about yourself, or
Right. Well, I've started taking advantage of being a suburbanite now. I've lived in New York for 20 years, and then I moved to the suburbs about 4 years ago. And I have this beautiful backyard with plenty of space. And so I've been gardening like a mug. I started a whole vegetable garden. We ate cucumbers straight from the vine, and these glorious tomato plants that just sprung out of our compost. It was great. That I will definitely continue. I mean, I don't want to start something next year, if hopefully we're back next year, right? I don't want to start a big vegetable garden and then make my husband take care of it. It's a lot of work, but I have been really enjoying that all summer and into just now. Like, well, there's all sorts of snow to shovel right now because there's been a great big snowstorm. But yeah, it's just suburban life. I'm getting into the natural part of suburban life more.
right? Well, Toya, and you mentioned before that your husband is a percussionist and has been teaching at home, right?
Yes.
So do you ever play music with him, oboe and percussion?
Yes. We have a saying amongst the two of us that we believe in the separation of church and state, usually. So we usually keep our lives pretty separate. But during the pandemic, it's a wonderful opportunity to make music with somebody who, other than just making music by yourself. So we have done several things together now at this point, and it's fun. It's fun. I don't know if that's going to continue much after the pandemic is over, but I celebrate he's an incredible musician. So I'm lucky to have him here under my roof. He's a great arranger, he's a composer. So I've been just sopping up all of his knowledge. and trying to make it come out of the bell of my horn.
And Monica, what about you?
Well, my story is probably not quite as idyllic as Toyin's is. I was
You have a garden in Harlem. That is.
Well, yes, I'm a lucky New Yorker. I have a little bit of space. That is true. I didn't start growing, salads worth of vegetables, but I had to start being my son's teacher, my son is in the first grade, and obviously we all, as parents, if you have school age kids, you became a full-time, full-on teacher, and that was a lot. Yeah, I'm not sure we're supposed to spend this much time with our children, frankly. And obviously I love him to death, but that was really pretty incredible to see him in an environment that I don't often get. So, there was the utterly exhausting aspect to it, and I'm completely out of my element, and I just have to be right there on it with him being so young. He was in kindergarten, by the way. Yeah, he's in first grade now. So in the spring of last year, obviously he was still in kindergarten. 6 years old, I'm just hands on. So all kinds of credit is due to teachers and the monumental things that they did to make learning still occur. I am glad that they were able to go back. His school was able to have an ability to go back in person with all sorts of stipulations, and so that is a relief. That is a bona fide relief, and it was an opportunity for me to see an aspect of my son that I would not have had the chance in other ways, just to see how he absorbs information, how he learns, just get a better understanding of that through Zoom, which is the X factor that we all have been dealing with, but still able to kind of get a view that I didn't have before.
Have you been doing things through Imani Winds online?
Absolutely. And you were talking about March. I don't think in March I would have imagined we'd be as busy as we are right now, in a good way, in a positive way. A lot of what we're doing is having conversations with people about how to build an equitable business, or an equitable ensemble, or have diversity within their music programs, or how we've done such a thing. And so that has been amazing work, amazing conversations we've been a part of. Monica and I think, have been bumped up quite a bit into the adjudicating and teaching. I want to say we're influencers almost now. I don't know. I think that could be said, and that's also a tremendous humbling honor. We're now kind of officially middle-aged people, and I think middle-aged people, in some ways, they can have the advantage of listening to their elders and paying attention to their elders, and also listening to the generations beyond. And that's kind of how we've been living our lives, even through our 20s and now into our 40s. And I think finally we have a say in things. And I feel all of us, not just everybody of our age, but us as individuals, we're able to take advantage of all that we've learned and give that back. And that's an amazing thing. So we've been doing that. And then we've also had a few concerts, meaning we listen to some pre-recorded materials that we've had from before, or maybe we have one tile video that we created during the pandemic, and kind of commenting on it in Zoom in real time. So instead of playing, we'll be saying, "Oh, here comes that place, Jeff, where you know what happened," and so, or remember when we recorded on that day, it was raining real hard, or whatever. Just a little commentary along with listening to these recordings. So that's a different way of experiencing music. You get a little inside scoop into what is going on in our heads while we perform, and now what we think of it now.
You had a chamber music festival. Did that go off online?
So we have had a chamber music festival for the past 11 years. It has been in person every year except this past year. And like Monica was saying earlier, when she was talking about the inertia, we didn't know what to do with this festival during the pandemic. And so it took us months to finally decide, okay, we're going to just have it. We're going to do it online. We're going to shorten it. And most importantly, because this is for musicians and especially young musicians, and money is tight for everyone, especially young musicians, we'd make it as cheap as possible. So for people to attend. So we did have it, and it was really rewarding to do it. And what was also interesting, this is just a person for me personally, I was able to have the whole festival while I was visiting my parents in DC. So, how often can that happen? That I could be a part of the Chamber Music Festival and do it at my parents' extra bedroom. So that was pretty cool. But yeah, it was fantastic. We had the concert, we had relaxation, meditation moment for musicians with breathing and some coaching of ensembles. So it was great. It's great.
So are there positive things that have come out of this experience in terms of reaching people in different ways, do you think?
That's exactly right. Yes, yes. In fact, I think we've reached probably more people in these past 9, 10 months than we would have unless we were just on the road nonstop, which years ago that kind of was the case. So, I mean, I've been on a number of calls for other reasons, if not this, if not with Imani Winds, but other teaching and things and other panels where somebody's zooming in from Taiwan and from London, and it's a tough thing though to grapple with, because you don't want to get too used to this. You don't want to think that this is a normal thing, and this is how there's two camps that will never go back to the way we were, and can't wait to get back to the way we were. So I'm somewhere in the middle, that this world will continue to a certain extent, but people will still need, and musicians still need, that personal connection by far. But in any event, yes, we have had the chance to connect with folks. Some of the earlier in September, some of the earlier events were presenters realizing that their seasons were canceled, yet they still had to do something for their audiences, and people are really gravitated towards that. It was important, and we're really grateful that they brought together a virtual experience to have that access to the artists.
Right. Well, great. Well, thanks so much for spending some time with us. What's up next for you guys? What are you excited about, pandemic or not?
Right. I think you were saying you want to talk about what makes us excited and what we're really doing. What I really like to do is sit on my couch and watch Netflix and sit next to my 11-year-old daughter who is sneaking back over here. So I'm going to continue doing that. And although I think I've seen all of Netflix and Amazon Prime at this point, but I'll keep looking. All of it, the whole thing. I was watching a 1930s version of Flash Gordon yesterday. That's how far down it's
Right.
I'm at the bottom. But yeah, we have lots of great stuff coming up. Our new CD is coming out. We are going to start doing performances where we're together and streaming things together. So that's going to be fantastic. We'll have another festival this year. Yeah, just like the momentum is starting again. The choo-choo train is leaving the station, and that is super exciting.
Absolutely. Yep. Can't wait to be back on that stage. That's just what we're all working so hard to make happen. So
That's great. So I look forward to seeing you and listening to you and chatting and listening to your music in person soon, I hope.
Thank you so much, Susan.
Thank you.
Really fun to talk with you.
Nice to talk with you too.